Well, hello and welcome to the Tao Manifesting Tarot, the most unusual tarot reading anywhere. And the reason why is because I don't predict. I've done tarot for over 20 years. Come to find out, tarot doesn't predict anything. At least from my point of view, nothing. Zero, nada, zip. What it does do, however, is talk about the science of potential, your potential, your potential to manifest. You take the tarot reading, that's why I only use three cards. There's kind of a magic quality to three. Take three cards, you put them together, distill the message, and you come up with a frequency, a message, something that you can look at. It makes sense. Then you determine, because this is the science of potential, tarot, all of that. Am I going to do it? If I am, how do I approach it? Or maybe I'll just pass on the opportunity. But it's the ability for you to manifest. It's up to you to manifest the pictures in your own head, not from some damn piece of technology, AI, desktop, laptops, smartphones, all that stuff. You don't. Several studies have been done, and the more you lean on the technology to guide you, the dumber you get, the less creative you get. And we're seeing the early evidence of that because a new study out, I think last year, they were checking IQs down 6 to 9 points. When you're talking IQs, that's a hell of a big number. So you don't want to go outside yourself. You want to look inside, and that's what we're here to do, to inspire you. So there's no rainbows, no unicorns, no fantasy, none of that stuff. But to help you use the potential in the tarot reading, I have to give you a base. I mean, where the hell do you start from? Do you just give the information out and say, here's the frequency, you figure it out on your own? No, I don't do that. We do the tarot, which I've done for over 20 years. That's the core to this reading. But it's real helpful if you can get kind of background information before you make your decision as to how you're going to use this frequency. And that's where numerology and astrology come in. I've done both those things for 50 years. Again, tarot for 20. I've been around the corner once or twice or three or more times than I care to count. But the point of the matter is that when you put these things together, what you get is a real good message. And today, we're going to be focusing on divine favor. The universe smiles. People call it being blessed. But there's not a religious quality to it, more of a spiritual quality. Because being blessed is divine favor. It's that universe smiling at you. Doesn't happen often, may not last long, but when it happens, you know it. And with the tarot and the information from the astrology and numerology, you have a much better idea in terms of how to apply it. So this thing works for you. That's the whole idea. Because your ability to manifest is the human kryptonite. Manifesting, creating pictures in your own imagination is the biggie. So today we're focusing on divine favor, the universe smiling at you. Alrighty? Before I get too involved in getting into this reading, I want to remind you while I'm thinking about it. Got one singular email that you can contact me at. I wish that you would. It is tau-tarot at proton.me. Tau-tarot at proton.me. I'm getting off the Gmail stuff. I'm trying to kind of step off the edge a little bit because when you go down the same track of the same kind of people, YouTube, Gmail, by the way, both are connected. What you're doing is you're supporting the people who are, in large part, pushing you to their utopian future. Dystopian for us, utopian for them. So I try to step out. Here's a little small step for me. Tau-tarot at proton.me. That's very helpful, very important. So let's get to it. Let's tap into the energetic cycle. Use the tarot, the potential to tap into it, and then the numerology and astrology, the science of cycles. Use that cyclical stuff to help you understand what you're going through right now. So then you know how to apply the tarot. So let's begin. We begin with something called astrologic, which, not surprisingly, has something to do with astrology. Again, astrology, numerology are the science of cycles. It is helpful to catch a feeling, to catch a frequency for what has gone on before with these particular planetary combinations so that you can go, oh, I get it. For example, and I do this every day, and I know for people who check out every day, they may get bored with it, but it's for new people. You go back to 1776, the United States signed a Declaration of Independence. On that day, we had Pluto in one spot, we had Uranus in another spot, and 250 years later, because it takes Pluto 250 years to go around the solar system, 250 years later, voila, they're back in the same spot. They were exactly the same spot about 2 years ago. Still close enough, and both those planets are going to go retrograde, so they're even going to get closer. So this is still continuing, and that's the reason why I talk about mostly the big planets or the faraway planets, the Pluto, the Neptunes, the Uranuses, because they're generational. It's not just a one like a lunar thing, a moon, full moon, boom, gone, few hours, it's out of the way. No, no, no. These can stick around for years. And so you go back to 1776, Pluto, Uranus, Pluto meaning evolution, Uranus meaning revolution. And you come up to today. Where the hell are we? We were in exactly the same spot they were 250 years ago. In fact, next year is the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, July 4th, 2026, if we can keep it together that long. So the same kinds of energy that happened back in 1776 we're feeling right now. I don't think we're handling it nearly as well as the people back then did. Not everybody got on board with the Declaration of Independence. You still had a sizable half or maybe even a little more than half of the people who want to stay with England. And so we have a lot of confusion here too. But the energy, the sense of it is what's really the important thing here. So with that in mind, I have been doing something called the Conquest of America. In lieu of what's coming up next summer. I'm going to try to keep putting this information out to kind of tie in with our 250th anniversary. So it is the Conquest of America. We don't think of American history very much that way. And that's because we had Sagittarius on our 4th of July astro chart. We see things big, 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 big. America, big, 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 big. Everything is huge, bigger than real. And so we don't have a tendency of looking at things negatively, but ever since the European bankers began to organize, and they did that officially when they created the Bank of England. They gave the king a bunch of money for war because kings want to go to war. This king in England wanted to go to war, and they said, "Hey, we'll make the deal, but one more addition. We want to start something called the Bank of England. You have nothing to do with it. I mean, you can be a shareholder, stockholder, that's fine, but we're going to control it." King said, "Fine, just give me my money." So back in the 1600s, European bankers created this thing called the Bank of England. Sounds official, but it's a private bank. And boy, did they make it work for them. In fact, they were part of the reason why we had the revolution, because they started to lean on the British colonists, saying, "Hey, we're the Bank of England. You have to do what we tell you." Colonists said, "Up yours." Not going to happen, buddy. Well, after winning the American Revolution, the European bankers formed Wall Street. They formed the first Bank of the United States. I think that's what it was called. Had a 20-year lease. After the 20 years, they took a look, and there was a little bit of a political difficulty. People didn't feel comfortable with a private bank. But after a year or two, they got the second Bank of the United States. Well, at the end of that 20-year session, Andrew Jackson said, "No more. No more. This is a money cartel. We don't want it." And we knew what they were up to because Meyer Rothschild, the head of the Rothschild banking empire in 1803, said, "You can have the government, just give us control of the economy. You can do what you want with the government. We don't care about the government, but we do care about the economy." And that's what scared Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Andrew Jackson. They tried to assassinate Jackson. They failed. Lincoln was not so much fighting for slavery as our independence from the bankers, European bankers. They killed him for that. And then President Garfield also got killed because he wanted to mess with the money. And you could see that they were working their way to getting back this one single bank, because you can do what you want with the government. We just want the economy. So we're looking today at 1910 to 1915. This, to me, is the singular turning point in American history. And again, it's driven by the European bankers. 1910 to 1915, what do we see? The Titanic sinks. Why? Well, the story goes that there were 4 or 5 rich people, some of the richest in the world, who were against the idea of forming the Federal Reserve. And the only way that they could get rid of them was to put them on the Titanic and then sink the Titanic. Within 6 months after the Titanic sank, these people were dead and gone. Voila, we have the Federal Reserve, the income tax. There were a lot of people who were not happy about it. Charles Lindbergh, famous American, was really very much against the idea of the Fed. Many people who were observant said the Fed killed America, the Fed killed the Constitution. Even Woodrow Wilson, who voted for it, said he screwed up big time. Too late. 1913, the Federal Reserve becomes official immediately as part of that law making the Federal Reserve to a real entity. They come up with the income tax. So the bankers decide that there's going to be an income tax. You got to have money to fund the Fed, right? That's not enough, though. That was not all of their plans. There was a ship called the Lusitania. At the start of World War I, you couldn't have ships loaded with ammunitions. Apparently, the Lusitania did, although there's really never been proof. It was sunk. So let's see, we got 2 ships sinking, we got the Federal Reserve and the income tax coming together. We get into World War I. And the interesting thing about World War I is that the U.S. banks and European banks funded both sides. Both sides. In fact, there was a couple of brothers from Germany. One that ran the German bank, one that ran the bank in America. 2 brothers funding World War I. You see what happens when you don't care about the government, you only focus on the money. You get a lot of stuff done. So, astrologically, what the hell was going on? Well, there were several things, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with the astrology. I try to keep it simple and understandable. The biggest change was the Pluto was changing signs. It was going from Gemini to Cancer. I mean, it was like at 29 degrees of Gemini, getting ready to move into Cancer. When you have that kind of a change, you have a different mentality. Gemini was lighter, faster. Pluto in Cancer, that's different. Very emotional, very personal, very family, very connected. And you see what happened to the United States once the Fed got its hands on our economy. They were going to settle in, make the United States their home. And just to kind of update that for you, back about 2020, we had Pluto changing signs. We had Neptune changing signs. We had Uranus changing signs. Just one of the faraway planets, it was at least 3. Saturn also was in the midst of changing signs, but that's not the point. You're seeing a shift in energy. So you go back to 2020, 2021. How much have things shifted? Not just in the Americas, but in the world. Well, that's what they went through in 1915 era. As we're heading into World War I, we get a whole new banking system. We have to sink ships. We have to get involved in wars. All of it to control our money. Remember, you can do what you want with government. Just let me control the money. That's what Meyer Rothschild said, and it was coming true. Let's go to the tarot, 7 of Wands. Talks about taking a stand. Wands are not half-ass. It's all or nothing. It's all in or all out. Seven of Wands says, I'm going to stand up. I've had enough. This may be that American Revolutionary moment where we decide enough is enough and enough is too much. It looks like some people around the world are kind of getting that same idea as well. And you will notice, as the Wands card indicates, it is done with passion. Again, no half-ass. So expect things to get more charged as people decide finally to take charge of their lives. Next card, King of Swords. Swords are data, information, truth, generally speaking. And we're talking about being ethical and unbiased. We've had the bullshit. We're waking up to the bullshit. Why should we go back to being comfortable with being lied to again? We can't. Seven of Wands energy says, I'm taking a stand. I'm not going to put up with the crap anymore. You're going to be honest with me. You're going to be transparent with me, or we're going to get rid of you. That's the truth. And that's the King of Swords. Final one is the Eight of Pentacles, talking about making progress, satisfaction. Pentacles are our value system. Yeah, cheap tarot readers go, it's money, 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 money. It's not money. It's not things. It's friendship. It's love. It's joy. It's peace. It's connection. The things that money cannot buy. You can see him working on his pentacles. That's what we have to do. Seven of Wands, that's enough. I'm going to take a stand. I'm planting my flag. That's it. I'm done. I am done. King of Swords says, I want the truth. I want transparency. I want to be able to make good decisions with good information. The Eight of Pentacles says, we're going to make it work for us. Make it work for everybody, which is the only way that it's going to work. We're out of time for today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for doing all of this, for being here with me every single day. If I could give you a big hug, I would certainly do so. But I can't. So again, just thank you. And please like and subscribe. That's a big way of saying thank you. We're facing a huge battle on the internet. The people who are trying to control all of us are unhappy with the internet, but they have to move carefully because they realize people are waking up. So like and subscribe. Please help out me here at the Tao Manifesting Tarot and all podcasters. We're here, some of us, to help make you smarter, better, give you a chance at a better life. Between now and the next time you and I do the Manifesting Tarot thing together, peace and blessings.